Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain. I'm Rachel, and I'm here to review the last book of today, and I have got to pull it up on my Kindle while I'm sitting here, but it is going to be Leave the Galaxy for Good by Yahtzee Croshaw. So I'm pulling it up. There it is. I intended to do that before I started hitting record, and then I didn't, so oops. And this is Jacques McKeown number 3, and I have really enjoyed just re-listening to this series. This has just been one that I do for me. It is not a NetGalley. It is not something that I have any sort of deadline on reading or listening to, and sometimes I just do that. Sometimes I dive into a book or series or something that I already have on my Audible if I'm maybe low on audiobooks to listen to. Now, somebody did ask me how I read so many books. Well, I can honestly admit that I can read a 300-page book in about 3 or 4 hours. I can really just plow through a 300 or 400-page book pretty quickly. So it only takes me about a day to read one of those. Audiobooks are... I can usually do that in about 2 sittings, so usually break it up into like 2 4-hour blocks or 2, however long it is. I just break it up into like maybe 2 blocks or maybe 3, depending on how much is left at the end. So that's kind of how I work my way through it, and I do tend to have like maybe 2 going on at the same time. Like I'll have a an ebook on my reader going, but then I'll also have an audiobook for when I'm not able to physically stare at my phone for several hours at a time. So if I'm doing other things, if I'm working on a spreadsheet, if I'm working on scheduling, anything like that, I can listen to an audiobook and kind of still continue my reading journey while I'm able to occupy part of my brain while the rest of my brain is then able to focus on whatever task I'm doing. So that's kind of one of my things is like when I'm doing kind of scheduling or taskings like that in the office, if I don't have like just a little bit of background noise going on, then it's actually harder for me to focus on the tasks that I'm doing. I'll just zone out or I get easily distracted. And it's like if I go ahead and distract myself with that background sound, then I'm actually able to do my task a little bit better. I've been this way since high school when I would study with the TV on, even if just low in the background, or a little bit of music on low in the background as well. So somebody had asked me that question on one of my videos, and I just thought I would mention on putting it out there. That's how I read so much so quickly, is I'm actually able to read a physical ebook in about 3.5 hours, 4 hours. And that'll be about a 300-ish page book. And a lot of the books I've been getting have been around there, so I can actually finish in about a day on one of those. But then I also usually have an audiobook going of sorts. And we are talking about, and that's again how I finished Leave the Galaxy for Good. This so far it's a trilogy. There's just 3. I don't expect Yahtzee to do any more in this particular series, but you never know. I mean, he may decide that we want to revisit Jacques McKeown in the future, but maybe we won't. I do feel like we did get a pretty good wrap up on this one. So if he doesn't decide to explore this anymore, I totally get it. Jacques McKeown is the most celebrated author of star pilot fiction in the galaxy. He's rich, famous, and living in luxury, and his universe-wide fan base eagerly awaits any news of his next book. There's just one hitch. He's not Jacques McKeown. He's Dashford Pierce, or so we know him, a star pilot and con artist. And if only the impatient calls from his publisher were the worst of his problems. There's also the last vestige of the Henderson crime gang, trouble brewing in the retired star pilot. I keep calling them pirates. They're not pirates, they're pilots. So there's trouble brewing in the retired star pilot community and a small matter of somebody trying to kill him. Oh, dang. As his web of lies falls apart and the crosshairs zero in, Pierce has no other option but to take one last adventure, an odyssey to the very edge of known space to finally answer the question that has twisted up his life for 5 years. Just who is Jacques McKeown? So it is considered science fiction, audio, it says audiobook, and I don't even know if you can get these in paperback. I mean, maybe, but I've only ever found them on Audible. So there are 3 in the series. It is fiction, humor, satire, space, and more. It says Audible audio 10 pages. I don't know what that means regarding 10 pages. What 10 pages? I don't know, because it's an audiobook from what I'm to understand. I don't know if there's a physical book. This was actually first published last year in April of 2024. So it hasn't been that long, because I'm actually recording this in April of 2025. So it's only been out for about a year. Which is pretty exciting, because I think it was about 5 years in between book number 2 and book number 3. I don't know the time frame between books number 1 and 2, but I did let my mom listen to some of Yahtzee's YouTube videos that are, is it called Zero Punctuation? Anyway, they're super good. They're super funny. If you like video game reviews that kind of rag on them a little bit in all of like the best ways and make like they're really funny, and Yahtzee is such a fast talker. I was sitting there laughing. I think my mom was a little confused, even though she could see the humor in it, because a lot of it is, of course, video game referencing, and if you don't know all the references for the video games, then you're not going to get some of the references. So makes sense. He is a comedic writer, video game journalist, author of the adventure games, created using Adventure Game Studios software. I don't know what that means, but that sounds great. Anyway, so Jacques slash Dashford Pierce he's more or less kind of at the end of book 2, he's been acknowledged slash recognized as Jacques McKeown. They have decided that he must be this person. So he's now living in the lap of luxury. He has a penthouse apartment and it's gorgeous. And all of a sudden, one day, when his publisher is calling him, asking for his next book, and he sits down trying to write, and he is a terrible writer, just doing a very bad job. A torpedo comes and pretty much blows up his apartment. So he's like, oh darn, oh heck, I guess now I've got to go figure out what happened. Like, who is targeting me? And he kind of comes to the realization that it must be the real Jacques McKeown. The real Jacques McKeown must be targeting him, because he, Dashford Pierce, is now living the life that they should be living. So he goes back to, oh gosh, what's her name? What's her face? This same girl that he's kind of been talking to for like the past couple of books. And it's like, is it Morgan or... drawing a blank. Anyway, he runs across that particular girl again, and he's like, look, I get it. You probably know who the real one is. And she's like, yeah, I do, but I'm not going to tell you. I need you to do this for me first. So, he does. He kind of does whatever she asked him to do. She's like, okay, I need you to, like, help me with this particular scenario. And so they travel out into space, and they are looking for a ship that supposedly has, like, it's the ship he should have been on with the scientist. Like, so the two people from the other book that he was on, like the heist adventure with, that they went on, and so they've got to go find this ship, because that's where he might get some answers. Well, as they get closer, they get this distress signal, and so Dashford goes over, or Jacques McKeown, goes over to the distress ship to try to help the pilot. And in the wake of that, the pilot runs into his ship, and he's over in the kind of the stranded ship, so to speak. And now they take off. The pilot and the girl take off, while McKeown now has to go to this very the ship is not like, it's a big one. Like, you can picture like starship fleets as being huge. It's like a world in itself. Like, it's a self-containing habitat. And I guess you could probably picture like Starfleet command type ship if you want to, like Star Trek, where, you've got like the holodeck, and you've got like the med deck, and you've got IT. And yes, IT does come up. So I didn't just say that to make up things. I actually said that because it makes sense. Well, when he gets on board, things are very weird, because now everybody on board is calling him the captain. He's certainly not the captain. He's never been here before. But everybody has this weird sort of vibe to them. Like, they're looking around, like, in corners of the room, like they're being recorded. And so it's kind of funny, because they are. He starts to realize that everything on this ship, people are acting like they're on a TV show. Funny thing is that back on Earth, it is a TV show. These people and this ship is the setting of a TV show. And he is now the new actor playing the new captain. And everybody's just pretending that he's been here the whole time. And I don't know who this other guy was. I don't know what you're talking about. And apparently, like, one of the actors is like a golden retriever. He's like a first mate or something. So you can definitely see where things are much more TV-esque, because like the one of the other officers, she's, I guess, a buxom-esque woman whose uniform is not all the way zipped up, but kind of zipped down a little bit. And she's got like high heels on. And nobody on a ship would really be wearing that sort of thing if they're working. But yet, she's doing it right now. And so he's really confused until it starts to sink in. And that's when he realizes his old friend Martin, who was the one who kind of used to do take over people's minds and stuff. Martin has to be behind all of this. Martin definitely had the wherewithal, the knowledge to know what was happening. And so maybe Martin is the one controlling all of this. He is controlling this whole scenario, and now we have to get him so we can stop this nonsense. Yeah, but let's just say it's maybe not Martin. Maybe it is a little bit. Maybe it's not. I'm not going to spoil that for you. I'm going to let you figure it out if you listen to this story. There's a lot of bits and pieces going on, but you definitely get some significant Star Trek vibes going on. Not too many red shirts, although when people flub their lines or say something they shouldn't, somehow they go missing and they're quickly replaced by someone else. So that's a whole thing. There is a little bit of Matrix-esque vibe going on as well, so that's certainly a thing. And we have Dashford Pierce / Jacques McKeown doing what he does best, which is stumbling along, accidentally solving things. I do think he's really a good character. He's a fun character. He's not likable in a lot of respects, but that's why I think he's fun, is because he's flawed in so many ways. And honestly, all of the stuff that kind of happens to him, is it his fault? Maybe a little bit, but it's not really his fault, because a lot of it was kind of foisted upon him. And yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna kind of leave it, because this one's a good one. Like I said, I don't expect any more from this particular series. I do think that Yahtzee has written this one the way he wanted to write it and wrapped it up well. I would love to see more things that he may write in the future, but we will see. I do think Jacques McKeown / Dashford Pierce is still very much like a Han Solo kind of character. We don't have a Wookiee as his sidekick, but he does have some other people who tend to show up and just wreak a little havoc on things that makes everything just a little bit more enjoyable. But with all of that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, then I certainly hope you will. And thank you for joining me on this journey. I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.